ladies and gentlemen, a 14-year veteran in the NBA, a UCLA Bruin, and along with Steven Jackson brings you all the smoke. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Barnes.
Good to be back. Good to be back. What's up, fellas?
Here in the smokeless environment of the Rich Eisen Show.
Well, I made sure we took care of that earlier.
No, so Understood. Good to see you.
Good to be seen. What's going on?
Yeah, nothing much, man. We're just hanging out here, just trying to take in last night's draft.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
What did you find interesting about it?
It was the first draft I watched in a while because I'd kind of been following this crop of kids. Interesting to see how Ace Bailey does. I think he's a tremendous talent, and I think his antics or his management antics had him slide a few slots that he didn't want to slide to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was one away from apparently
I guess what he wanted.
Mission,
so it almost happened.
It almost happened. But it just takes one team to just say,
yeah,
we don't care if you don't.
And Danny Ainge is that kind of guy. That's why I like Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge put a plug in that. So really interesting because, I mean, tremendous talent. Seen him play live. Got a chance to see Cooper play live. Like I said, this is kind of the class I got a chance to see. So really excited. What I kind of found interesting was, and I think this is kind of the disconnect from my era to this era, is a lot of these kids you don't know anything about. Like, there's no storylines. You couldn't really follow them in college and understand what they had, because there's a lot of overseas guys or the one and done. So there's a lot of kids that went in the first round that I was just like, I think I know this game pretty well, but I have no idea who. And that's not a knock on their talent by any means. They're just not really names that you've got a chance to grow accustomed to yet.
Right, and that's, again, we were just talking about it before. The NFL draft, when somebody's drafted, you're like, oh,
their storyline.
I saw that guy light it up in the Big 12. I saw that person light it up in the SEC. I know that's a defensive player of the year from the Big Ten that slid to the fourth round. Here it's just like, I guess I got to Google the Adriatic League.
Yeah, and then sometimes you look at their numbers and their numbers aren't overwhelming, and you're just like, okay, well, let's wait and see what happens. So I think that's the only thing I kind of took away is, like, they're not, and I wouldn't, I guess you can call some college guys household names, but I just remember my era, like you said, to the football point you just made, you kind of got to see their trajectory and know their past body of work, and then, have expectations for them once they make it. But with basketball now, it's so young, and the one and dones and the influx of talent from overseas, you just don't know any of these kids.
Yeah, last 2 years, a lot of G League at the top, and now you're seeing. This was more of, I guess, of an international influence as well. Matt Barnes of All the Smoke here on the Rich Eisen Show. You said Ace Bailey, you saw him play. What do you think? Really?
Yeah. Could put the ball in the basket. It was interesting too, because obviously he was listed at 6'10", but I guess without shoes they said 6'7", so he's probably 6'8", 6'8.5". But outside of that, his ability to put the ball in the basket is incredible. His length, his 3-level scoring, just really impressed. But I didn't know him at all as a person, so that was the kind of the one thing that I just. You hate to see young players, whether it's them or their representation, kind of get them off to the wrong foot in this league, because this league is kind of like high school from a standpoint of everyone's always gossiping about someone, and a reputation can, really harm you or harm your money. And I just hate for, guys to get into situations and harming their money before they get a chance to actually show their talent. But I liked every time he spoke, he's like, hey, I'm keeping the main thing. Basketball is my main thing, and that's what I'm going to focus on. So, moving forward, Utah probably wasn't the landing destination he wanted to be in, but he's there now, and I'm sure he's going to put his best foot forward.
Obviously, I chalked up a lot of his comments where he was keeping the main thing. I'm talking about basketball, as somebody was just like, just say that.
Yeah.
Just say that. And even if it doesn't fit, we'll get you through the interviews and get you drafted and get you done.
Right.
Because he's 18 and he's just taking the advice, I imagine. That said, I couldn't imagine the Sixers, if it is true that Bailey's like, I don't want to come do dinner. I'm not breaking bread unless you give me a guarantee that you're taking me. How can you draft that player after they say that, and then look at the rest of the organization and say, please do what we're asking of you, when we asked it of somebody who's not even part of our organization, and then made him part of our organization? It's tough.
Tough call.
It's tough call.
But I say,
right?
with all due respect, I would 10 out of 10 times rather be in Philly than Utah. You know what I mean? So I just think from a city standpoint, obviously there's talent in Utah. There's talent in Utah, but talent in Philly, it's a little up in the air what Embiid and PG are going to be to that franchise moving forward. But you have Maxey and the kid that got hurt this year.
Again,
Jared McCain.
Yeah.
Jared McCain. Yeah, so you put those two with an up-and-coming 6'8" scorer. I mean, I think that's you're building for the future, regardless of what PG and Embiid situations are. So I don't know. I would have been probably the same if I'm in a GM position. I'm saying F your demands. I'm like Danny Ainge, and I'm going to take the best player available. So I would have definitely took him at 3, knowing what the upside is. And again, being 18, he was probably heavily influenced by his camp, and you just, hope that basketball is basketball.
So you think the Sixers should have just taken him
I
anyway?
think so.
Because of because the eye test, talent over everything?
Talent, talent. And again, at a young, I was even immature in my 20s, you know what I mean? So you always know that people are going to outgrow the immaturities that they may possibly come into to the league with, but his talent is undeniable. So I'm really excited for him. He's landed somewhere, and we're just going to have to see what happens.
You got a comp for what Cooper Flagg's career is going to wind up being?
Ooh. I think that the sky's the limit for this kid. I think what I love about him is his motor. I got a chance to see, and I coach in this AAU space, and it's a lot of entitled kids that think they're better than they are. But the one thing I loved about him was, it's bad. This kid had a motor on both ends of the ball, and I think he actually may be better on the defensive end as he continues to improve his level of his scoring, but his athleticism, his defensive prowess, how hard he plays, and then landing. I don't know how this happened, and I think the Mavericks' the only job is to not screw this up with management, to be able to be a team that has that type of roster, that caliber of coach, and land the number 1 pick. I think that was they were playing with the balls, no pun intended,
nice.
For that to happen. But extremely excited to see what he is on this level.
Did you just throw out a conspiracy theory on me?
Yeah, I think it happens every once in a while for Bron to land somewhere, to Derrick Rose to land somewhere, for Bron to leave and Kyrie to land somewhere. I think there's a business of basketball behind that.
Kind of like what O'Shea was saying.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. said that in that chair.
Did he?
And just 2 days ago. And I'll say this, but okay. How does that happen in your mind?
Know.
Like, is there a meeting somewhere?
Crazy.
Like Adam Silver tells somebody else, like, this is what's going to happen. Clearly don't tell the 29 other franchises, because we've decided to put the thumb on the scale for a franchise that made a deal that almost burned their entire house down. Okay, with the fan base going crazy, but let's do them a solid and hand them the number 1 overall pick, and let's bring in a CPA firm. Let's put their reputation on the line. How does this work?
I think it might be above both of our pay grades and our classification levels.
All right,
but
it's not a Zoom. It's not a Zoom.
No, that can be cracked.
Memos,
I think it's down in a dark tunnel with people. You probably can't see it's lightly. The lights are dimmed.
It's a darkness retreat. Is it like they go through Aaron Rodgers to create this?
It's a secret society. All they ask is trust.
Is it? I like that.
Then how come Zion didn't end up on the Knicks?
Yeah. What
Good
the
call.
hell?
Maybe.
you only get it once, I guess.
Yeah, it's not
Knicks, they got
foolproof.
Ewing. That was they got the. Hey man, you got one in the freezer back in the '80s. We're not going to give you another one.
Like storing eggs.
So you mentioned Matt Barnes here on the Rich Eisen Show. You mentioned you're an AAU coach. You want to take a stab at the idea that these Achilles injuries that are happening are maybe born out of?
I do. I think, I was born in 1980, and I think my generation of kids, and I don't know if anyone else in here we played outside and we played every sport under the sun.
Yes.
And as I've become a father, my twins are 16 now, I just felt like everything has become more specialized. And if you play another sport or 2 other sports, you kind of get behind in your main sport. I was someone who lettered in 4 sports in high school: football, baseball, basketball, track, All-American in football and basketball. And I felt like the cumulative work from all those different sports helped me achieve what I achieved in the league, but also from a standpoint of, you're seeing little kids' arms blown out of, you're seeing Tommy John at a younger age. You're just seeing so sport specific, so young. And I feel like year round. We never had year round anything. Everything was always seasonal. Basketball for me was, you got some school basketball, and then when I was in high school, you had AAU for 2 or 3 months, and there was no 15, 16, 17. As a freshman, if you were good enough to play AAU, you're playing against the best kids. You're playing against the 18-year-olds. So there was only one type of basketball. But I say all that to say, just year round doing the same training, the same conditioning, that's just wear and tear on your body, on top of just how dynamic and explosive and how these kids start and stop now. It looks beautiful on paper, the way Shea can go full speed and stop on a dime and step left or right or step through, or Tatum and all these other stars are doing. But it's got to be, it's got to have some wear and tear on your body, whether it's the shoes. I think the shoes could play a small part.
Nick
I don't
Van
necessarily.
Exel said you wrap your ankles up. That the low riders are a problem.
I don't think so, because when you tape your ankle, I don't think there's a shoe out there that's going to keep an Achilles from tearing. I just don't see it that way. I just see it more as these kids are playing 100+ games in the summer. Some of them are. I don't allow and I think where the excess games come is where kids are jumping from team to team and getting a ton of run, which could help their growth, but at the same time, it's the wear and tear on their body. But again, Rich, the likeliness of these kids making it to the league is you better chance of getting struck by lightning. So these kids are playing a lot of basketball, but if you are able to get to that top level, which is the NBA, I just feel like if you've gone through 4 years of AAU, you've probably put anywhere from 2, 3, 4 years of grind on your body by the time you get to the league. And then the league is no joke. The pace of play is high as it's been since the 70s. And again, how fast and athletic and how these kids are stopping on the dime and moving the way they move. It's scary how many. It's kind of like the new ACL tear. There was a wave where ACL tears were the wave for a while in the league. Now, unfortunately, Achilles tears are the wave. And I just, as a fan of the game, I hate to see it. And I wish that whether it be shoe companies or doctors or whoever needs to figure this out for this league to kind of help prevent this.
So it's sort of a ticking clock the minute you start to specialize only in one sport.
It seems like it.
So it goes back to the way
I think
you're being developed as a teenager or late adolescent?
Yeah, you're pounding. I didn't train, and some people probably could say, like I see through your game, nice. I didn't train for the league until I was in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like I did everything else. I went from sport to sport. In college, I played a lot of basketball in the off season, but it was never real training. These kids are training now at 6, 7, 8 years old. And again, if it's basketball is what their parents think they're going to make it, and it's just basketball training from the time they start until hopefully the time they make the NBA. And it's the same movement on your feet, movement on your hips, movement on your knees. It's just the same. It's the same repetition. So you don't ever get to go to another sport where you're training different muscles and different parts of your body. So I firmly believe, and again, being entrenched in this AAU system, the kids are playing way too many games. I think on the flip side, and I think this also carries into why you see such an influx of Europeans in this game. The European kids will practice for 5 days to possibly play a game or two on the weekend. We might get one practice in to play 6 games on the weekend. You know what I mean? So where are you developing? Where are you learning the ins and outs and the execution of the game? Really, it's just about what tournaments you win. I'm seeing 17-year-old freshmen and 18-year-old, 19-year-old sophomores. AAU is an absolute mess right now.
I'd love to get your opinion on this as well. Of the first 12 years of Adam Silver's commissionership, 9 different franchises have won, and the reason why it's not 12 for 12 is the Warriors won 3 other ones, including one that you were part of.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on why we're seeing so many different franchises have a crack here?
I think it's a good thing, first and foremost. Adam's first year was my year with the Clippers when he banned Donald Sterling. That was kind of his first executive action. So he came in the hot seat hot, and I think he's done a good job. Obviously, there's things that can be improved, but...
What would that be? You could wave a wand right now. What would you make to change?
You put me on the spot.
That's the only thing I do.
the commissioner for the day.
I'm providing some smoke right here.
I would say bringing back defense. I think allowing. It's crazy because it's something that's taught. Like defense isn't even a necessity again in the AAU and get ranks, but. I think in the playoffs we were able to see a little bit more physicality and guys, outside of Shea, get to the foul line a ton. It was more just flow of the game, and guys were you could play a little bit more physical.
Right.
I think there needs to be a balance because I also think at the same time the explosion of the offensive game has helped the game grow internationally because people don't want to see those old school. I grew up in the 80s, again, Pistons and Bulls and Lakers and Celtics, and you're clotheslining Kurt Rambis and only getting a technical foul. Like, I grew up on that kind of basketball. So obviously they needed to kind of balance that out. It was a little too physical for the liking, but I think there needs to be some kind of balance of, bringing the game back to the defensive side and allowing people to really play defense. I think that would probably be the one change that I would make. I think that I'd make playoff basketball more regular season basketball.
What about moving the three-point line back? Because it just seems like everybody's hoisting from three now. And you're seeing transition threes more than ever because threes more than two, right?
Crazy.
And it definitely does not look good. It's a tougher watch from time to time.
It's nasty. There, I mean, you'll catch spurts of games where there's 6 consecutive, 7 consecutive threes shot and all miss.
Back and forth.
All missed.
Right.
Back and forth. And it's because we were learned you run for layups. Now kids are taught to run to the 3-point line, which is, a little bit backwards. But, I think, we credit Steph for so much of evolution of this game, but I also think people that have kind of adopted his style of play or Clay's style of play don't shoot like them.
Yeah, not everyone can shoot from the logo.
Plain and simple, guys don't shoot like, okay, I want to be like Mike. You don't jump or play like him. And now I want to be like Steph, but you don't shoot like him. So where's kind of the balance of, understanding good possessions, and then you throw analytics in the game where they say only a 3 or a layup and no mid-range. And I just think, I don't know. I think we've got away from the eye test and just the IQ of basketball. And I think if we can get back to both those, I think we can balance the game out. But I'm not one of these older players like up here. I love the game still. I still love to watch it. And I'm not one of these older guys complaining. But if you're asking questions on what I think could have some improvement, it would be
what
probably
about the corner three? Eliminating the corner three.
That's where I made my money. I'm not
That's
trying to
the
eliminate
easiest
that.
three to Why would you eliminate that?
But that's the whole
The
point.
closest 3, right?
Yeah, it's only 22 feet.
But I
where
would
it's
be interested in
23.9 the
seeing,
rest
like,
of the way.
is that, I would still think, because of the way the game is, I would still think, and it'd be interesting to see, have someone check it out. I think there's still more above the arc threes, because
attempts,
that's where people
maybe.
are running in transition. You know what I mean? I think the swing get you the corner threes, but I think in transition, people are running to the arcs and letting it fly.
What was your draft like? For you, your second round's
pick
tonight, and there's a lot of kids waiting to hear their names like you were.
It was kind of
2002.
just, man, hope it works. Hope it works out.
Where were you?
I was at a friend's house. We had a pool party and barbecue at a friend's house, and I want to say like the 42nd pick, so the 12th pick in the second round.
You were 46th.
46th pick. There you go. I'm getting older. I forget. So just hoping that it worked out, and hoping that I landed in a situation. So I was drafted to Memphis and traded for Wesley Person to Cleveland, and never really got a lick in Cleveland. So I went from 2 weeks of training camp maybe in Cleveland to it used to be the D League back then, and it was D. It was nasty. Fayetteville, North Carolina. But to me, Rich, that experience, because I think a lot of kids exhale when they get drafted, like, oh, I've made it, and it's the furthest thing from the truth. That the journey has just begun once you've been drafted.
So you were drafted by the
Grizzlies.
Traded
to Cleveland.
On the spot.
Draft day, yeah,
right.
for Wesley Person. Yeah.
Again, that's what's kind of confusing for a lot of people, because the new league year is after the draft, that you got to go through these moments where it's not like, well, look who's on the clock right now. It's the Cavs. No, it's the Grizzlies doing it for the Cavs, what have you. So did somebody from Cleveland call your cell phone?
They might have called my agent. I didn't get nothing. I just heard, oh, you're drafted in Memphis, and then 5 minutes later, actually, you're going to Cleveland. I'm like, oh, okay. Both are nasty cities, but let's do it.
Look at you.
So then when did you finally, you think, get your head screwed on right, where you knew what professional basketball was and to become a champion and whatever?
Man, I was mixed up in numbers because I wasn't necessarily getting a chance to play. I did what I was supposed to do in the D League, got a 10-day with the Clippers. And I think where I messed up was, this is when I went to the Clippers in 2003. They were just a bad team, and this was the same time that the Sacramento Kings were winning. So every summer, although I wasn't necessarily in the league, I was still, Chris Webber was my mentor, my big bro. So I got to work out with Sacramento in the summertime, and I had an opportunity to go back for a 2-year minimum deal with the Clippers. But this is the wave of Sacramento versus Lakers, and I was just like, man, I'm back at home and I'm training. And Adelman saw me training that summer and liked what he saw. So I was just like, hey, I'm going to respectfully pass on the opportunity with the Clippers, and I'm going to take this deal in Sacramento. And then I got traded with C. Webb to Philly, and the marathon began. And that was tough sled. I went out to Philly for the first time with no coat, Chuck Taylors and just sweatshirts, and I was just like, it was a rude awakening out there, boy. I didn't have no shoes, no coat, no nothing. I was miserable.
What happened? I mean, you went shopping is what you did.
Yeah, Webb took me shopping. AI took us to this place where everyone gets their stuff. And
give me your favorite Allen Iverson story, please.
Favorite story I can tell.
Nice.
No, AI was amazing, man. I had a lot of fun because I wasn't playing, and again, I was kind of like Chris's little brother, so I was kind of just guilty by association. I got to drag along with stuff, but there would be times where we would land off a road trip and there would be a limo waiting and we'd go to Atlantic City that night and all three of us would get and I didn't pay for nothing.
Right.
So I somehow got a penthouse suite and Louis the 13th was available. I'm just like, could I touch this stuff? Like, yeah, whatever you want in the room is yours. So, I didn't realize back then that, for gambling, they would give you whatever. And, I had some fun times, kind of eye-opening experiences, being with one of the greatest players of all time and kind of just being kind of like a little tag along. I was 21, 22 years old.
Yeah, and who was the coach in Philly at the time?
First we had Jim O'Brien, who was and then Mo Cheeks, who was my career almost ended before it started because I almost fought Mo Cheeks. He was caught on still kind of being a player, and it broke my heart because I was a Mo Cheeks fan.
Right.
What he was able to do for that team and the way he led that team, but when he became the coach, he just kind of was too joking for a lot of people's liking, but particularly mine. And I wasn't playing, so I treated practice like games, and I would always do what you're supposed to get the extra work in. And I remember one time I was shooting and it was funny. I just talked to the shooting coach, Buzz. We found each other on social media, and I was shooting after practice one time, and he came in. And it was just me and the shooting coach. Like, I don't know why you're shooting. You're not going to get to shoot here. Ha ha ha. And I'm just like, you're a head coach. You're saying that. And then maybe a week later, we're in practice. And again, practices are my game. So I took a shot that I guess he thought was ill-advised and stopped practice. And you don't shoot that here. That's not what you're here for. That's why you don't play. So I kind of took off. I was going to pounce on him. And luckily Chris grabbed me,
Weber,
and stopped me from doing it. But I was gonna put pause on Mo Cheeks. And to this day, I don't dislike anyone. I dislike still to this day Mo Cheeks.
All the smoke.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard you tell that story. I was wondering if this
I
should come out
left out
direction.
the explicitives because I know we can't.
I appreciate
talk the way we talk, but yeah, you get the gist. I just the way he treated me and
damn,
it treated other guys was not cool, and it's probably why he's a lifelong assistant.
Chris Webber's Hall of Fame hands came into the grip.
Yes.
Okay. So All the Smoke is just crushing it. You and Steven Jackson. And check it out on iHeart as well, right? iHeart is the... and then you guys have your own label as well?
So, yeah, we launched All the Smoke Productions January of last year, and it's been such a tremendous blessing. I mean, obviously, we had verticals in basketball, which we're doing well. We're launching our football department, so All the Smoke football is coming.
Okay.
We already launched All the Smoke Fight, which is MMA and boxing. So we have Roy Jones and Andre Ward, kind of the head of the boxing side. We're in the fight side. Major League Baseball reached out to us, and actually they're having us come out to All-Star in Atlanta in July because they want a little bit more of our demographic in it. So I'm working with my brother CC on that. So it's just been incredible. I mean, partnerships with Netflix and Amazon. It's been a great transition, but a learning curve. I've enjoyed kind of learning the backside. I've been the talent in front of the camera, but learning the backside and understanding these deals and how they work and just kind of learning the game has been fun.
So is the first or the latest fight pod of All the Smoke about the big three? And Steven?
It needs to be.
Lance Stevenson and Dwight Howard. Can we get them on the All the Smoke Fight vertical?
We need to. There was a lot of action for the big three. I'm happy for Q because the big three was, questionable for a while. Then they started selling these franchises, and then all the drama that happened week one. I think to me, it's all good promotion for the league. So, I'm happy for Q.
Well, I mean, the video of Steven's post-game speech.
If you want to call it that.
I mean, have the Knicks reached out?
If you want to call it that, yeah. I mean,
reach out for permission.
My brother's he's turned over a new leaf, but sometimes when you push those old buttons, old instincts come out, and
there was malice.
Yes, there was almost malice. Thankfully, there wasn't. But again, cooler heads prevailed. But again, it brought a ton of attention to the league.
No doubt. No doubt.
Which brings attention to you guys in your podcast. So it's,
It's a trickle-down effect. I'm not mad at it. Trickle down
Spell the
effect.
name right.
Right?
It's called BRG
Yes.
3.
Matt, this 05-06 Philly team, interesting characters on it. Lou Will, rookie
Yeah.
year. Kyle Korver in his second year. Iguodala,
Second
rookie.
year? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun guys on that
Interesting
team.
guy. Rodney Rogers was an OG there, too.
Zendon Hamilton.
Yeah, Zenon Hamilton, yeah.
Kevin Ollie.
Samuel Dallenberg, Aaron McKee,
Yep.
Webb.
C-Webb.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, man.
Interesting squad.
They sent him out there to die off, unfortunately.
Oh, boy. Well, congrats on everything, man.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled to hear about the NFL vertical, huh?
NFL, we're I can't officially say who's
Okay.
going to be the head of that because
Sure.
we're in negotiations with him right now. But
Oh,
we got
okay.
we got a good name to
come.
kind of head that
To come.
space. So yeah,
Okay.
it's been fun. And again, I'm a huge baseball fan, so looking to really jump in that space, and then hopefully by the end of the year, golf as well.
Golf.
Yeah.
All the smoke in golf.
Love it.
All right. That'll be
They
interesting.
go hand in hand, right?
We teamed up too, real
Sure
quick.
does.
We teamed up with Netflix to do the Happy Gilmore 2 launch. So that's coming out.
Okay.
I think we're doing that in the middle of July or
Yeah,
end
that's
of
when it's
July,
coming
the
out.
27th, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
of July. So that was really exciting for me. First of all, being able to team up with Netflix, just first and foremost, but just such a huge fan of Happy Gilmore and what that meant to my teenage years. So it's an honor to be able to be a part of that.
Great to see you, Matt Barnes.
Good to be
Don't
seen.
be a stranger, man. Come
Sounds
back
good.
anytime.
And congratulations to your guys'
Thank you very much.
situation.
Look at
Thank
all
you.
of us.
Look
There's
at us.
smoke,
Congratulations,
smoke
man.
for everybody.
Hey, smoke in the green room. I'll see you guys in a little bit.
I'm on my way back.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.